It's true. I mean, I do think about my time that I spend on it, and I don't ever think that I've ever went, oh, I think that's enough today because I've done too much.
The spiritual side of it is very ancient. It's something that we've had a long time ago, and it's just the spirit of gluttony.
If somebody from a generation long ago, before social media was a thing, could view my life as a witness, and as a witness has to decide, guilty, this is an idol, not guilty, it's not idol, what would be the outcome?
Hey everyone, hopefully you're doing well. Welcome to the Jesus King podcast. I'm here with Emil. How you doing, Emil?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
Good.
Today we're actually talking about social media, and it actually has a lot of influence in your life. I don't know about you, but to me, sometimes you watch a video and it gets a lot of emotions out of you, and sometimes it just changes your whole day.
Yeah.
And you think about it and you're like, wait, that can be a tool for the devil to use in my life to influence my day. So, do I really want to be influenced by God, or do I really want to be influenced by social media? Now, I'm not saying everything social media is bad, right? There are the good stuff, there are the bad stuff, but we really need to be careful on what we're taking from the social media in regards to how it influences us in our emotions, with the way we see culture, with the way we see life, and even obviously the addiction side of it. So I think it's a good topic for us to speak about today.
100%, I agree, and it's I think it's very relevant today because social media plays such a big impact on everyone's lives, and it doesn't matter the age, the race, the gender, etc. It's everyone's using it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using it to spread the message of the Bible and the gospel. So it is a tool. It is a tool for us to use, and it can also be a tool for the devil to use, like you said. And the one thing you just said is that it could impact our lives and it can influence us in such a crazy way that it could change the whole day and how even our week. And it reminded me of the verse Romans 12:2, which is, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So we shouldn't be conforming to what the world is and its influences, but we should be more about conforming to what Christ wants us to be.
Yeah, man. I think that's important, man. Sometimes you just open up your phone and you don't really give yourself kind of time limit, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no restrictions, right? Your phone is not going to tell you, oh, you're using too much social media. It's just like you go on Facebook, and then once you're bored from Facebook, you can go to YouTube, Instagram. I mean, you could spend a whole day on it.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary about it. Like, you go to work, you've got a starting time, you've got a finish time, right? I mean, even at church, like, you might start at 10 o'clock in the morning, right, on Sundays, and you might finish like, say, 11:30, 12. Like, you see people putting, like, some boundaries on everything. No, by all means, man, if you want to do church all day, that's great. But I'm saying, like, there's everything in life.
Yeah.
You see people putting limitations, but when it comes to social media, somehow we're very comfortable of giving it more than enough time than what it's meant to have on our lives. Like before you want to start, like, I've got two boys, and we've kind of put a restriction. Like, you can only do a screen time 1 hour a day, right? Because to my boys, you could give them a phone, you could give them an iPad, they could be playing games or watching kids' YouTube for all day. They don't mind that. So that's a big issue that I've been seeing, that we're not really saying, this is bad for me, I need to limit it, and having that portion might be beneficial for me.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do think about my time that I spend on it, and I don't ever think that I've ever went, oh, I think that's enough today because I've done too much. I think it's just something like, oh, I've had my fill of it. It's kind of like we're engorging ourselves with this content and just keep taking, and there's no sense of, well, limitation to it. I don't see it. But do you think that that's something that's recent, or do you think that's something that's always been a factor? It doesn't even have to be social media, just like entertainment in general. Do you think that before, like let's say before social media was a thing, do you think that people were more aware and put more restraints than now? Do you think it's
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah, for sure. And I do believe that this is like obviously social media is a new thing, right? We're talking about last 20, 30 years. But I think the spiritual side of it is very ancient. It's something that we've had a long time ago, and it's just the spirit of gluttony. It's something that you cannot have enough of, and you continue to indulge yourself. And notice the reason why I say gluttony is because it can be very similar to, for example, food, right? With food, you like to have different varieties, you know, and you would want to enjoy and have more of it. With social media, they've designed it in a certain way. You could watch a video that is only 5 seconds long, and you scroll up and you've got the next video and the next video and the next video. If you look back, you're like, wait, I just watched 100 videos, hardly remember what I watched. You know, I'm just to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. There's no spirit of self-control in that.
And not only that, I think it doesn't edify you in any way. And I don't mean just spiritually. Like even if we put that aside for now, even if we're talking about like, for example, if you're watching like a historical content like about history, at least you're learning. If you're watching stuff about how to repair a certain part in your car, you're learning. You're watching a video about like how to build a chair, you're learning. But this is stuff that's just garbage. It's just stuff that clutters your mind and just fluff. It has no substance. It's just junk food of entertainment. Literally the junk food of entertainment, and that's what's become popular these days. And it's called like they say, oh, it's like I think it's called like TikTok rot or something like brain, like I don't know. It's something like where your brain is like so influenced by this that you can't pay attention to other things.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I've like I've seen the whole TikTok theme of it, right? Where some teenagers stands there while they're talking, they might do a few dance moves or whatever like that. But I've actually seen it in teenagers in real life. Like they're talking to someone and out of nowhere they just start to do these dance moves. And I'm thinking, okay, what's on that screen is literally made so much of an impact on that person that they can't even stand still to speak to a person. They're just moving around. You're like, dude, you're no longer human. Like, could you have a conversation?
Yeah.
That's difficult for me. I mean, I don't really blame children or young teenagers because they don't know better, right? If you show them entertainment, if something that feels good, they would like more of it, right? And that's in every aspect of their life, whether it's having fun, playing games, eating, watching, whatever it is, right? But when it comes to the adults, and you're like, doesn't matter what my kid does, doesn't matter what my kid watches,
Well,
that's a bit concerning.
It is, and that's why the Australian government felt that there was a need to limit the consumption of social media for younger children. So I think it's 16 years. Don't quote me on this. Either 16 or 18 years old is now the limit of where they can use social media. So they will not be able to use anything like, for example, I think WhatsApp is one of them. I think like TikTok and all these, any social media really, they're not going to be able to use it. Even like Facebook and that, they're not going to be allowed to use that. And they want to implement this. At least that's what I've heard. And of course, there's a kind of, it's difficult to monitor all this because it's very easy to, well, lie about about how old you are and gain access to whatever you want to gain access to in the internet. And I think the main reason why the government is stepping in now is because they're seeing a trend. They're seeing a trend of antisocial behavior in children and in young adults. They're seeing a pattern of behavior that's not acceptable, and it's getting worse. And it's getting to the point where it's possibly dangerous for the future of humanity.
It's funny because they call it social media, but the only thing that you're getting out of it is becoming an antisocial person.
That's right. Yeah.
You could sit there and watch 10 videos of 10 different people, and you're very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But then when you stand in front of someone face to face, some people are very anxious, very can be a bit weird, can be a bit nervous. And do you think that's one of the basic things that a human being can do is
Yeah.
to communicate,
And they're not able to.
and they're not able to.
At least not properly.
So spiritually speaking, like I was sharing with you, I do feel like there is a spirit of gluttony when it comes to social media, where we don't restrict ourselves in how much we consume, and we can take our phone to our bathroom, to our beds, wherever we are, even on our breaks, even when we're traveling to work. Sometimes you see people on the train, on the bus, you can't even see their face because their phone is in front of them. What do you spiritually see in that?
Well, I had written down, because when I was doing research on this topic, I had written down one thing, which is any source that consumes more of your time, energy, or focus than God competes for his rightful place in your life as God.
So like an idol.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it gets to that point where it's like, because like I'm not judging other people. I'm judging also because I am also one of these consumers of this social media. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I think about it, and when I was doing this, like the research on this topic, I was thinking about it, and I looked back in my life and I said, if somebody from a generation long ago, before social media was a thing, could view my life as a witness, and as a witness has to decide, guilty, this is an idol, not guilty, it's not idol, what would be the outcome? And I thought guilty. Yeah,
Wow.
that was where I came. So what do you think?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I did like catch myself. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you're spending too much time on
Too
it.
much time.
Let it go. It's time to do something else. And it's obviously, like for me personally, I've got a lot of responsibilities, right? Being a husband, being a dad, you do have close connections with other people in your house. You could be living alone in your home. You might not have anyone to talk to, right? But if you spend so much time on your phone on social media, you start to recognize, okay, I'm ignoring my wife, for example, or my husband, well, whoever you are. I'm ignoring my children, or I'm ignoring my parents. If you're young,
Yeah.
and you're living with your parents, then yeah, you're ignoring your parents, and you start to see that the connections that God has put in your life, like family, something that is a close bond, a very strong bond, you start to realize that even though you're physically living with each other there, you're
Apart.
apart.
Yeah.
You're not there anymore. And the thing is, like you start to look around and you're like, okay, this person, their title is, for example, a brother, right? I'm living with my sibling. This person is a brother. That's his title. But I'm not living up to my title as a brother, or I'm not living to my title as a husband or as a father, because I'm not being a husband. I'm not being a father. I'm being someone who's hypnotized by a phone, a laptop, or a TV, and you're just like, you look dead, and you're like, okay, that's my focus for the next few hours. That's not what God has put us responsible for. God has put us responsible. If you're a parent, God gave you responsibility to nurture the children, to oversee your children. When the devil is distracting you with social media, then guess who's going to be taking care of your kids? It's the devil himself. He can do two things at the same time. We can't. So would I emphasize my relationship on my children, or would I emphasize my time on social media? It's just an example.
You're absolutely right. And I think it doesn't just stop with our how it impacts our families and everything and our friends. It's also impacting your character as a person, as who you are and who God wants you to be. And that's the most dangerous things, because you said it earlier in the beginning, which is it can influence you to the point where it can change how your whole week is. how your week was, how your day was. So if it's that bad, I think if it's a continuous daily thing, it can influence you, like, by who you are as a person, your very character and who you are. And that's where I think it's very scary, because it's happening to children. Because for us, I mean, let's be honest, for like at least half our lives, social media wasn't really a big thing. Not really. I mean, we had like what was it, Bebo? Remember ages
Oh, I
ago?
wouldn't even remember, man.
Like,
A
yeah,
long time ago.
MSN Messenger,
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah.
Like, that was like a very small portion of our life. It was mostly like actually going in person, like going to the movies or something, or wherever, like playing pool, going bowling, whatever we were into.
Yeah.
But now it's these kids from a really early age. It's social media, social media, social media. That's their identity, literally their identity. And I think it's genuinely like if I was in charge, I would consider putting my country in a state of emergency because of it.
It's scary. It's scary.
Very scary because it's changing who they are, and it's making them into people that can't integrate into society when they get older.
Yeah, it is difficult. Like I've seen a lot of people, even on YouTube, they're like, oh, people complain about my whole life being on social media, and I don't have so much of a life outside. But that's okay with me because that's the internet. I can connect to everybody else. And what's the difference between me speaking to someone face to face or me speaking to someone on my screen, right? But then the idea is, in the real world, you have to leave your house and interact with a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. Like, it goes so far as even people now, they don't even want to go to church. They don't want to drive to church because, I can listen to any sermon I want online. And that sermon most likely will be much better than the local pastor I have on that church. But you realize, like,
There's no connection.
There's no connection. And not only that, you've got a very shallow idea of what a church is. A church is when you go meet with each other, eat and drink, and have fellowship. Enjoy some time with each other. Greet each other, hug each other, encourage each other, comfort each other. You're not going to see that across a screen.
And we saw that when the whole... do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, when the virus went around. I'm not going to say its name. But yeah, when that went around and people were made to stay home, a lot of people had deep depression after that, man. A lot. I'm talking about many people had mental problems, like mental illness. And their mental health was so bad after that, like really bad. And you see that how much social interaction, like physical social interaction, not online, because they could still do that online. So clearly there's a disconnect. There's something where being online is not the same as in person, because we need to be in person. We're not robots. We're not virtual creatures. We're real people. So, and we need real people to survive, to function normally. If we don't get that, our mental health declines. Our physical health, because of our mental health declines. And we see this. Many people died. Many people's immune system was so low, even lower than just being in isolation, just because they were socially isolated too. Like, as in, it's not just like the physical point, it's you cannot connect with other people. And it got to the point where a lot of people didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Because to me, if you put a person in a room with a phone and, they don't mind sitting there scrolling on social media, what's the difference between that and prison? Like, you're literally locking yourself up in a place and you're content just because you have a phone in your hand. People out there, they want to see the world. They want to enjoy life. They want to experience it. Today, this is the illusion that we're getting to. Today, we would watch someone experience that for me and I find satisfaction in it, right? You watch someone that might eat a burger, right? It looks amazing. You're like, oh man, I'm so happy. Like, I really enjoyed that video. But then what people are not noticing is like, hold on, you're robbing yourself from that experience, but you're finding pleasure and you're content just by looking at someone else having that experience.
I noticed that. You're
Be-
right. Yeah.
yeah, before, when you advertise a holiday, people, they're like, I want to go.
I want to
I
experience
want to
these things.
enjoy it. But today, we watch people go on holidays. We watch people eat stuff. We watch people play games. When I was younger, forget it. I used to wait for my turn to hold the controller and play myself, right? Now, it's like, oh, I just watched this favorite YouTuber. He can play, and that's good enough for me, right? I'm just going to enjoy him playing. That's so different to what we used to have. We can end it with a closing statement.
Sure.
What's in your heart? What would you like to encourage people to know?
I think God defines your worth. It's not other people on the internet. It's not likes or anything like that. I think God defines who you are, not what you watch and what you consume online. I think we should be careful with what we consume. And it's not only about quantity, it's about quality. So maybe choose quality programs to watch. It doesn't only have to be Christian, of course, but something that's actually edifying, something that actually makes you think and say, oh, wow, that's pretty intriguing. I never thought of this. Rather than just fluff.
No, that's amazing. For me, I just want to encourage you that God created you for a purpose,
Yes.
and God created the world around you a certain way because you fit in very perfectly into that puzzle.
That's right.
So I just encourage you, instead of wasting your whole life staring on a phone, there are a lot of things that God can use you in regarding to your family, with your friends, at your work, and for you to actually enjoy the life that God has given you. I'm just encouraging you, stop finding satisfaction in other people's pleasures, right?
That's right.
Go experience life for yourself. So God bless you, enjoy it, and take care.
Take care.